Hello, my name is Darren Balke and I'm with Paloma Print Products. Today we will be giving you an overview of two of our testing tools, STREAMdiff and Switch. STREAMdiff is a print comparison tool that allows you to compare files like AFP, PDF, and Xerox Metacode. Switch is our automation tool that allows you to automate the running of STREAMdiff in addition to the entire testing process. Before we get into the details of STREAMdiff and Switch, it's important to understand the problem that both address. If we take a look at the next slide, you can see that we've identified the problem as print application testing. Per the quote, testing can consume up to 60% of a project's hours, which is a significant amount. The reason print application testing is a problem is because this is what we typically see in an environment where STREAMdiff and Switch have not been implemented. A manual document testing process where pre-change or baseline files are printed out, post-change and modified files are also printed out, and you have users in the middle trying to do manual detection. This manual process is not very efficient, and it also results in a lot of wasted time and money. In addition, it's easy for errors to slip through the cracks because in a manual process, it's difficult to understand the difference. Is it correct? Did it change the way you wanted to? Etc. This is where STREAMdiff and Switch come into play. Taking a closer look at STREAMdiff and Switch, they both have the same objective. That is to reduce document quality assurance costs and error rates. They do this by automating your complete document testing process. In order to do that, there are some critical best practices testing criteria. The first three bullets speak to STREAMdiff, and the last two speak specifically to Switch. So starting with STREAMdiff, it's important that you compare or test actual pre-change and post-change print files. What we mean by that is if you're producing AFP, you should be testing AFP. If you're producing PDF or Metacode, you should be testing PDF or Metacode. In addition to AFP, PDF, and Metacode, STREAMdiff can also compare PostScript, PCL, and ASCII text files. Moving on to the second bullet, STREAMdiff does a structural and visual or pixel level compare of the print files. The benefit of that is by doing a structural compare, STREAMdiff is able to capture a lot of information about that file. It can then provide that information to the end user in an easy to read or view format, making it easy for them to determine if changes are acceptable or if they need to be fixed. In addition, by doing these two levels of compare, STREAMdiff is also able to compare unlike output formats. For example, AFP to PDF or PDF to Metacode. Another important criteria is the ability to have alternative methods for viewing the results. While you can view the results directly in the STREAMdiff GUI, you also have the option to create a PDF-based detailed difference report. This report gives you the same compare result information just in a PDF format. This is great for business or less technical users to review. It also allows more individuals to get involved in the testing process because they don't have to learn a new tool. They can simply review their testing via this PDF report. All right. STREAMdiff can also run in both an interactive and in a batch mode via Switch. Running in a batch mode via Switch makes it easier for large batch or regression runs, as well as users who want to just drop files into a folder and have Switch automatically compare them in STREAMdiff, rather than running them in the STREAMdiff GUI. When automating the entire testing process with STREAMdiff and Switch, you also get transparency and accountability. A complete audit trail is created, making it very easy to go back and see what was run on a particular day, rerun if need be, and track the usage. When we combine these best practices with STREAMdiff and Switch, our document testing picture looks a little bit different. You can see that in this new graphic. It's quite a bit different than what we saw with the previous manual testing process. Compared to the manual process, which had people printing out documents and doing manual review, we now have STREAMdiff and Switch automating that process. This results in a much more accurate and faster testing of your documents. And with Switch, the entire process from receiving files, comparing files, and then sending the results can be fully automated. The next slide will give you an idea of the different types of areas and projects that STREAMdiff and Switch can be used for. You can see in the first column, the main impacted areas are typically quality assurance, product development, and business users. The different types of projects can range from admin conversions to conversions of print to compliancy and regulatory changes. And a big one is upgrades of print composition software. Anytime you upgrade your software from one version to the next, it's nice to be able to test the previous version compared to the new version just to make sure that nothing has changed. Different types of documents that you can test with STREAMdiff and Switch. The type of document really doesn't matter as long as it's in one of the supported formats like AFP, PDF, PostScript, PCL, Metacode, or ASCII text files. But you can see some examples include policy print, correspondence or letters, statements, and mailings. And then moving on to the different types of print testing. Regression or very large-scale testing is a great fit for STREAMdiff and Switch. Development and unit testing, business acceptance testing, code deployment or migration testing, as well as day-to-day testing. All right, next move on to a STREAMdiff example and show you what the STREAMdiff GUI looks like after a successful compare of print files. So here's a screenshot now of the STREAMdiff GUI, just to kind of walk you around the different windows that you see. The two main windows in the middle are a nice side-by-side view of the two files that were compared. The baseline file or control file is going to be on the left. You can see the word control up there in the top left. And the test file or the modified file is going to be here on the right, with the word test in the upper left-hand corner of that window. So a nice side-by-side view of the two files that we're comparing. And whether they're AFP, PDF, or Metacode files, the way the GUI is going to function and look is going to be exactly the same. You'll also notice that in these two view windows, they have red arrows. Those red arrows point to where there are differences. Wherever STREAMdiff identifies something as being different and not the same, it's going to put those red arrows next to those objects. You can see here the phone number has a red arrow next to it because the first three numbers in the phone number changed. The window on the right is the page list. The page list shows you how many pages were compared. In this case, I compared over 48 pages in my files. And it also color codes those pages based on whether or not there are differences or no differences. So you can see pages 3, 9, and 15 are green. That tells me that those pages are 100% exactly the same and they had no differences. Whereas all the other pages are red and they have at least one difference. When you're comparing a large number of pages, it's nice to have that color coding so you know where to focus on when you're viewing your results. In the lower left-hand window, we have some categories for differences. Anytime STREAMdiff identifies something as being different, it places it into one of these categories. You can see there's categories like page attributes, text, images, and graphics. And the idea here is any of those categories that has a red X next to it, like the text category, that means that there are some text differences. So when I click on that category, directly to the right of that category window, you'll see a table. This table will then be populated with a row for every difference on this page. So you can see we have two rows here, one of those being the phone number difference. So on this page, I have two text differences. And in this window here, if you look at the column headers, we get very detailed with regards to what we show you for differences or attributes for the text. So things like the actual text value itself, then X and Y position, the string length, the color, and all the font information here as well. So very easy to see in this window what exactly was different. Next, we'll take a look at an example of a switch workflow. So if we look at the screenshot that we have on the screen now, this is an example of a PDF workflow that we've created in Switch. And whether it's AFP, PDF, or Metacode, or any of the other supported formats, the way that these workflows are going to work are going to be pretty much identical. So if we look at the beginning in the top left of this workflow, we'll see some different submit options. We'll see a submit files folder, an FTP receive, and a submit point. These are three different options that you can use to get files into Switch, so Switch can then compare them in STREAMdiff and output the results. The submit files folder is basically just a folder where users can map a drive and drop PDF files in. Switch can automatically match up PDF files, so as long as the file names are the same, we can match on the names. So you could drop hundreds of files in there. Switch can automatically match them up, compare them, and then output the results. If it's easier to FTP files, we provide an FTP option. You could also email files into the flow. And then the submit point allows users to submit files via their web browser. So once the files are submitted at the beginning here, Switch will then grab them, compare them in STREAMdiff, and moving on down to the bottom right, we have different result options. So one option here is we're going to put the results to your results folder. So you can just go to maybe a network folder to view the results via in the GUI or in that PDF-based report. You can also set this up to email you the results. So after you submit the files, you'll actually get an email when that compare is finished with your results. So very easy to not only drop the files in, but also get the results on the back end. And then lastly, the last part of the flow here in the top right, this update area. Sometimes you have to change the settings that Switch uses to run STREAMdiff. Maybe you create some rules or change some project settings. So using this little update flow here on the right, it makes it easy to update the settings. You essentially just have to drop a STREAMdiff project file into this update folder, and it will then update the settings. So the next time you drop your PDF files in, it'll use those settings. So very easy to update settings if need be. And then below that, we have some project repository and results folder cleanup. Obviously, the more files you run through Switch, the more log files, folders, reports that you're going to have out there. So we make it very easy to keep things clean and clean up old projects and files. All right, that concludes the STREAMdiff and Switch overview video. If you have any questions or would like to set up a more detailed demonstration, please contact Joe Pigeon. Thank you for your time and attention. Have a great day.